apparently, according to the FDIC, U.S. banks are raking in great profits once again. Here with banking guru at the Wall Street Journal, David Reilly. David, what do you think of our new studio?
It's nice.
Yeah, pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good. Are you going to talk about asymmetric accounting?
I'll leave that till later in the show.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. The FDIC, though, had their quarterly, you called it something, QBP?
Banking profile.
QBP?
Right.
The QBP?
QBP. It's great. You get the graph book, you sit down with it, you plow through it.
Not me. But apparently
you should try it tonight.
Banks are doing okay.
Banks are doing better. They keep improving, getting healthier.
Now, is this a good thing, or for the sort of the media out there, when banks make profits, you know, they go shouting that's a bad thing? It's a good thing when banks make profits,
This is a good thing. You want the banking system to be stable. They made $35 billion in the first quarter. Now, this is all FDIC-insured banks. It's not just talking about Wall Street. This is everyone out there. That's up about 23% year over year. That's good. Credit quality is improving. A larger percentage of banks are seeing profit gains as opposed to, losses. Some of it is coming from things which I'm sure you'll point out, that they're releasing loan loss reserves, which some people say, well, that's fake profits. But that's a sign that, their loss and charge-offs coming down.
You get to my points before I do.
I know, I'm just trying to preempt.
That's really unfair. But banks are doing good, but you've called it a tale of two banking systems, right? So there are the large money center banks, and then the regional banks. And the regional banks, kind of boring subject that nobody likes to talk about, so we're not going to talk about it. But those are the banks that are probably doing pretty well.
From the stock market perspective,
they've been doing well.
They're doing better.
Give a couple of examples of those kinds of banks.
I think that the biggest difference, the starkest difference out there is, and this isn't a really small
I don't want
bank,
names. Give me some names.
U.S. Bancorp.
U.S. Bancorp.
JP Morgan.
JP Morgan.
Okay. JP Morgan has
big national money center
$2.3 trillion in assets. U.S. Bancorp has about $380 billion in assets. Okay. U.S. Bancorp trades at about 1.7 times book value. JP Morgan, less than book value.
Well, it used to trade above book value until there was that unfortunate matter of the chief investment office at JP Morgan. But putting that aside,
so that goes to say the big banks have this whole host of issues that everyone's worried about. Europe, the trading blow-up, JP Morgan regulation.
Facebook IPO. What a
IPO.
disaster for Wall Street. Look at the excuses here. Apparently some of the banks are still complaining that they're not lending. Is this the large money center banks, or is this both?
Well, this goes actually, the flip side of the profit growth we're seeing is that the loan balances are still shrinking. And that's largely coming from residential mortgages, home equity lines, and even credit cards, although some of that is seasonal in the first quarter.
I just lost my pen. Is this not the great consumer deleveraging? Isn't this good?
If the credit quality is improving and the deleveraging is proceeding at a moderate pace, yes, it is good. Because look, we're still up to our necks in debt in this country. It's not like, oh, hey, the crisis is over, everyone just go out and borrow again. You still have net debt to income, I think, is still around 115%. That compares to about 70, 80%, back in the 90s and the 80s. So we still have a long way to go. So I think what you're seeing is the economy is continuing to adjust.
Let's talk quickly about bank stocks.
Right.
It's, again, a tale of kind of two banking systems. A lot of the Wall Street, the traditional big bank stocks, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, have not been doing well. In fact, Morgan Stanley's down at like $13. I looked the other day. I couldn't believe Morgan Stanley's stock was back at $13.
Right.
It was like at 19 or 20, like
definitely
a few months
among
ago.
The big banks, Morgan Stanley's the whipping boy. Okay. And they have been getting whipped and hard.
Right. And but among the other banks, the Wells Fargo's better performance?
Wells Fargo's a stand, but Wells Fargo, for all its size, it's seen more as being like one of the regional banks because it doesn't have the huge derivatives portfolio. It's not sort of a Wall Street bank. So they trade at a higher valuation than the likes of even JP Morgan or definitely Morgan Stanley, Citibank, or Bank of America. And that's where you're seeing the divide. That the people, it's almost like people are saying, look, the too big to fail banks, we just don't want to touch them. The other guys will consider and we'll give them higher valuations. But the market, in a way, is voting on the too big to fail question.
Final question for you. We will have to wait how long until there's some clarity around all the regulatory uncertainty, the Volcker rule, et cetera, et cetera. Wait, I'm going to make it easy for you. Option A, within 6 months. Option B, within 2 years. Option C, keep waiting and you will probably die of old age.
I'd say option B.
Option B, 2 years. There you have it.